Aron stood quietly at the entrance of the starship's grand hall. His eyes moved across the wide chamber filled with hundreds of seats arranged in circles around a glowing center. Beams of soft blue light rose from the ground to the high ceiling, giving the place a sense of calm power. The air carried a strange hum, the kind that reminded him he was not on Earth anymore. He felt small among so many different shapes and faces. This was not his first time traveling on a starship, but it was his first time being part of an interstellar gathering. He had been chosen as one of the human representatives to learn and observe. Humans were new to the galactic stage, and most species looked at them with curiosity or doubt. Aron had expected that. What he did not expect was the weight of so many eyes watching him as he walked deeper inside. He looked for a seat. Most rows were already filled with young heirs, soldiers, and learners from many alien clans. Their clothes shone with strange fabrics, their eyes sparkled with colors that were not human, and their voices carried pride when they spoke among themselves. Aron felt plain in his simple dark jacket and boots. He carried no crest, no symbol of rank. To many, he was only a visitor from a small and unimportant world. As he moved between the rows, some aliens shifted aside, making it clear he was not welcome near them. Others whispered behind clawed hands or flicking antennae. A tall scaled figure hissed softly as Aron passed, and a group of winged youths laughed in their musical tones. Aron lowered his head and kept walking. He told himself he would find a seat far in the back where no one would mind him. Then it happened. A voice spoke, strong yet calm, carrying across the noise of the hall. "Sit here." Aron stopped. He felt a light touch on his wrist. When he turned, his eyes widened. Sitting near the front, where only the most honored heirs had places, was a young alien woman unlike any he had seen before. Her skin shimmered with pale silver patterns that seemed alive, moving slowly like flowing water. Her eyes were bright gold, deep and steady. Around her head floated a thin crown of crystal shards that glowed softly in rhythm with her breath. It was Princess Lyra, heir to the high throne of the Celery people. Aron had heard her name many times in briefings. The Celery were old, respected, and often distant. No one expected a human to be noticed by one of their royal line. The hall fell silent for a moment. Dozens of eyes turned toward Aron. The princess did not move her hand from his wrist. She looked directly at him and repeated, "Sit here." Her voice carried no question. It was a command, yet there was also a strange kindness within it. Aron felt his heart race. He wanted to ask why, but his throat was dry. Slowly, he nodded and sat down beside her. The seat was soft and seemed to adjust to his body at once. He became aware of the stairs pressing against him. Whispers began. "Why him?" said a scaled youth behind them. "A human," beside the princess murmured another. "This is shameful," hissed a voice across the circle. Aron sat stiff, unsure if he should speak. He kept his eyes on the glowing floor, but he could feel the warmth of Lyra's presence beside him. She leaned slightly closer, so only he could hear. "Do not be afraid," she said. "I know what they think. But I have been watching your kind. You are not what they believe." Aron swallowed and finally found his voice. "Why choose me?" he asked quietly. Lyra's golden eyes softened. "Because humans are different. You see things others do not. I wish to understand." Her words made little sense to him, but he felt a strange pull of respect. She had risked the judgment of the entire hall just to sit him at her side. He could not explain why, but he felt proud in that moment. The hall master, a tall being with skin like polished stone, entered the center and raised his hand. The voices fell quiet. He began to speak of the trial that would soon begin, the test meant to measure the worth of the heirs and future leaders. His voice echoed, explaining rules and warnings. Aron listened, though his thoughts kept returning to the princess at his side. He remembered his instructors telling him to stay unnoticed, to watch only, never to draw attention. Yet here he was, placed in the brightest seat of all. He knew this choice of hers would bring him both honor and trouble. As the master finished his speech, a deep drum-like sound rolled through the chamber. The trial would begin soon. The heirs around them whispered with excitement and pride. Some looked at Aron with disgust, others with hidden curiosity. Lyra sat calm, her golden eyes fixed forward. But as the drum beat faded, she turned her head slightly and said once more, so only he could hear, "Stay near me when the time comes. I will not let them push you aside." Aron gave a small nod. He felt the weight of what was ahead, but he also felt a spark of courage rising within him. He had come as a simple human, expecting only to observe. Yet now he sat beside an alien princess who had chosen him before all others. The great doors of the hall opened, and a path of light stretched forward toward the chamber of trial. One by one, the heirs stood, their steps echoing as they moved with pride. Aron stood as well. The air felt heavy with expectation. As they walked, the princess did not release his wrist. She guided him forward with steady grace. The crowd of heirs parted, some reluctantly, to allow them through. Aron's chest tightened, but he held his head high. He no longer felt invisible. The trial had not begun yet, but already the galaxy was watching him. The long corridor beyond the hall glowed with streams of light that followed the footsteps of the heirs. The walls were alive with shifting colors, as if the ship itself wanted to remind everyone that this was no ordinary path. This was the road to the trial chamber. Aron walked beside Princess Lyra. Her hand no longer held his wrist, but her presence remained close, steady, and firm. He felt the weight of every eye that turned toward them. Even without words, he could hear the judgment in their silence. When the heirs reached the waiting chamber, the air grew tense. The room was shaped like a circle, wide and high, with seats carved into shining stone. The center glowed faintly with energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. Here they were to wait until the trial gates opened. As the heirs took their places, whispers began again. They were not soft enough to be hidden. Aron could hear them clearly. "Why is the princess lowering herself to walk with a human?" said a tall figure with horns that curved back like blades. "Humans are new, weak, and small. They do not belong here," hissed another, their scales catching the light. "It is an insult to tradition," murmured a voice from the winged group, their feathers rustling as if in disapproval. Aron clenched his fists. He wanted to speak, but his instincts told him silence was safer. Yet silence also burned. He had been warned that many races doubted humans, but he had not imagined being placed in the center of their scorn. Lyra, however, sat calm. Her golden eyes scanned the chamber without fear. She heard the same whispers, but her face showed no concern. Finally, one voice rose louder than the rest. A young heir with skin like dark iron and eyes that glowed red stood up. He stepped forward, his movements heavy like a hammer striking stone. He looked at Lyra, then at Aron. "Princess of the Celery," he said in a voice deep and rough. "Why do you dishonor this gathering? Why do you bring a human to sit beside you as if he were equal to us?" The chamber grew quiet. All eyes waited for her answer. Aron felt heat rise in his chest. He was ready to speak for himself, but Lyra lifted her hand slightly, stopping him before he could. She rose from her seat slowly, with grace. Her crown of crystal shards shimmered brighter as she spoke. "Equal is not given," Lyra said firmly. "Equal is earned. This human is here because I believe he has something you cannot see." The iron-skinned heir frowned. "And what is that, princess? What can a human do that we cannot?" Lyra's golden eyes shone as she answered. "Humans endure. They rise from weakness into strength. They fail, yet they try again. They do not bend to despair as easily as others. That is what I have seen, and that is why I choose him to stand near me." The whispers grew louder. Some heirs scoffed. Others looked thoughtful. A few even nodded slightly, though they did not speak. Aron sat still, stunned. He had never expected such words to be spoken in his defense, especially by one so high above him. Her voice carried not just belief but certainty, as if she had already seen proof he did not yet understand himself. The iron-skinned heir shook his head. Words are nothing. The trial will show truth. If he is weak, no speech will protect him. Lyra returned to her seat and replied calmly, then let the trial decide. The chamber filled with silence again. Aron let out a slow breath. He wanted to thank her, but before he could, the glowing floor pulsed stronger. The gates of the trial chamber began to open. A deep sound filled the air, steady and powerful. The heirs rose, their expressions sharp with determination. Each knew that soon their worth would be measured, not by words, but by actions. As they moved toward the gates, Aron walked close to Lyra. She did not look at him, but her steps matched his. Around them, whispers continued. He will fail. He will not last a moment. The princess is blind with strange ideas. Aron kept his head high, though inside he felt the pressure. He knew he was not the strongest, nor the fastest, nor the most skilled. He had no royal blood, no ancient weapon, no special training. All he had were his eyes, his mind, and the stubborn will that had carried his people through countless struggles back on Earth. They entered the trial chamber. The room was vast, larger than any hall Aron had ever seen. The walls stretched far into the shadows, and the ground shifted like liquid stone, shaping itself into landscapes. In one corner rose a forest of glowing trees. In another stood rocky cliffs that breathed mist into the air. Strange sounds echoed, the cries of beasts that lurked beyond sight. A voice filled the chamber, deep and ancient. It belonged to the ship itself. Heirs of the stars. The trial begins. You will face danger, and you will show your worth. Strength, mind, and spirit will be tested. Only those who endure shall pass. The floor shook. The gates behind them sealed shut. Ahead, the landscape stretched, changing as if alive. Aron's heart pounded. He had trained for survival, but this was beyond anything he knew. Yet when he looked at Lyra, she was calm, her golden eyes glowing like firelight. She placed her hand lightly on his arm. Stay close, she said. Remember, they judge with pride. We will show them another way. Her words steadied him. He nodded. The heirs spread out, forming groups. Some carried blades that shimmered with energy, others called on strange powers that glowed in their hands. Aron had only a simple pack with tools and nothing more. Yet he walked forward with Lyra, step by step, into the living trial. The air inside the trial chamber was heavy with strange energy. The ground beneath the heirs shifted like living stone, reshaping itself into paths, hills, and traps. Above them, lights flickered like stars, but some of those lights moved as if watching from the ceiling. Aron stood at the edge of the group. His heart pounded, yet he forced himself to breathe slowly. He had been told many times that humans should only observe, but now he was inside a challenge meant for royal heirs of great houses. He carried no shining weapon, no ancient mark of power. He had only his eyes, his mind, and the quiet strength that came from never giving up. Princess Lyra walked beside him. Her presence was calm, and her golden eyes shone with steady fire. She did not act as though she had made a mistake by bringing him here. She acted as though she was certain of her choice. That confidence gave Aron a small flame of courage. The voice of the chamber filled the air again, deep and steady. Your test is threefold. First, survive the beasts that roam within. Second, pass through the shifting paths and reach the heart of the chamber. Third, prove your spirit when the final trial reveals itself. The heirs whispered among themselves. Some smirked, already drawing weapons. A tall heir with scaled arms let out a low hiss of excitement. A winged heir stretched his feathers wide and smiled with pride. Aron kept silent, but his mind raced. The test was clear. Survival, strategy, and spirit. These were not trials of pure strength. That gave him hope. The ground trembled, and from the forest of glowing trees came the first challenge. Beasts emerged, their bodies low and powerful, their eyes bright with hunger. They were shaped like wolves, but their skin shimmered with crystal shards. Their steps cracked the floor with each movement. The heirs shouted and charged. Energy blades flashed, wings cut through the air, and powers of fire and light burst forward. The beasts roared, meeting the heirs with fury. The chamber shook with the clash of claws against steel and the cries of warriors proving themselves. Aron did not rush forward. Instead, he pulled Lyra back a step. "Wait. Look," he said quickly. She glanced at him, surprised. "What do you see?" Aron pointed to the beasts. "They go for the loudest first. They chase sound and movement. If we stay quiet and move carefully, we can pass without fighting them all." Lyra studied the battle. After a moment, she nodded. "You are right. They hunt with pride, not patience." Together they moved along the edge, staying in the shadow of the glowing trees. While others clashed with beasts, Aron guided Lyra through gaps in the fight. He listened for patterns in the beasts' howls, noticed the way their heads turned toward sound, and led her where the danger was thinner. One beast turned toward them suddenly, its crystal eyes glowing. Aron felt his chest tighten. He picked up a loose shard from the ground and threw it far into the forest. The shard struck a tree with a sharp crack. The beast's head snapped toward the sound, and it charged away from them. Lyra's eyes widened. "Clever. You see what others do not." Aron gave a small smile. Humans have always had to use more mind than muscle. They moved forward, passing through the first wave of danger. By the time the last beast fell to the other heirs, Lyra and Aron were already ahead, standing at the mouth of the shifting paths. The second trial had begun. The ground split into twisting roads that moved like snakes. Bridges rose and fell. Walls grew tall, then melted away into air. It was a living maze, designed to confuse and separate. The heirs shouted, spreading out, each trying to find the fastest way to the heart of the chamber. Some used power to break through walls. Others flew above, only to be forced down when the air thickened like heavy water. Aron studied the paths. He noticed something the others ignored. The glowing patterns on the floor pulsed in rhythm. Each time the light pulsed, the walls shifted. "Do you see it?" he asked Lyra. She looked down and gasped softly. "The walls move with the light. If we walk with its rhythm, we can stay on the right path." Together they counted the pulses, stepping forward when the light was steady, pausing when it dimmed. Slowly, carefully, they moved through the maze. Where others became trapped or forced to turn back, Aron and Lyra advanced with patience. A scaled heir, trapped behind a sudden wall, glared at them. "How do you pass so easily?" he shouted. Aron did not answer. He kept moving. He knew that revealing his method would only bring more trouble. He and Lyra pressed on until the shifting paths opened into a wide clearing. The heart of the chamber lay ahead. A glowing crystal rose from the ground, tall and bright, pulsing like a living star. The final part of the trial waited there. But before they could reach it, the ground shook again. From the shadows around the crystal came a roar that shook Aron's bones. A beast unlike the others stepped forward. It was huge, its body covered in thicker crystal plates, its eyes burning with fire. Its claws scraped the ground, leaving glowing marks. The heirs gathered, their faces filled with both fear and determination. "This is the final trial," Lyra whispered. "The spirit will be tested here." The beast roared again and charged. The heirs attacked together, but the creature was too strong. Blades shattered against its crystal armor. Powers of fire and light struck it, only to be absorbed. One by one, the heirs were thrown back. Aron felt fear rise inside him, but he forced himself to think. The beast was strong, too strong to face head-on. But no creature was without weakness. He studied its movements, its heavy steps, the way its eyes glowed brighter before each attack. Lyra, he said quickly. Its eyes are the key. When they glow brighter, it prepares to strike. If we distract it, we can make it stumble. She looked at him with trust. Tell me what to do. Aron picked up more shards from the ground. He threw one near the beast's feet. It roared and turned its head, its attack missing an heir who would have been crushed. Lyra moved swiftly, striking at its side, not to wound but to unbalance. The battle grew fierce. Aron guided, Lyra struck, and together they saved several heirs from being crushed. Slowly, the others began to follow Aron's calls, listening to his warnings about the beast's movements. For the first time, the heirs looked to a human for direction. The great beast roared, shaking the trial chamber with a sound like breaking mountains. Its crystal body reflected the glowing lights of the hall, making it look like a living fortress. Every step cracked the stone floor, and sparks of energy burst under its weight. The heirs circled around it, their faces set with fear and determination. Some raised their weapons again, though their first attacks had failed. Others looked toward the glowing crystal at the heart of the chamber, as if wondering if they could reach it without defeating the beast. None dared move forward alone. Aron stood still, his eyes fixed on the monster. He had no shining blade, no magical skill. Yet he knew he had to think differently. Beside him, Princess Lyra held her staff, its golden edge glowing faintly. She looked at Aron, waiting for his words. We cannot break its armor, Aron said quickly. If we keep striking it the same way, we will all fall. We must use the chamber against it. Lyra's eyes narrowed in thought. The chamber itself. You mean the shifting ground? Yes, Aron replied. Watch its steps. It is heavy. When the floor moves, it stumbles more than we do. If we guide it onto unstable paths, it may fall. Lyra nodded. Then we lead it, not fight it? The iron-skinned heir who had mocked Aron earlier overheard. He sneered. You would run from battle like a coward. Aron shook his head. I would win by using what is here. That is not running. That is surviving. The heir gave no answer, but his silence showed he had no better plan. The beast lunged again, its glowing eyes locking onto a winged heir. It struck with claws that could crush stone. Aron shouted, move left, now. The heir, startled, obeyed by instinct, and the claws smashed into empty ground. The floor cracked and shifted, making the beast lose balance for a breath. Aron's heart raced. His idea was working. He grabbed a shard of crystal and threw it toward a rising platform nearby. The beast's glowing eyes followed the sound. It charged after it, placing its heavy weight on the unstable ground. The platform shuddered, dipped, and collapsed. The beast stumbled, crashing against the side of the chamber. The heirs gasped. For the first time, the creature looked less like an unstoppable wall and more like prey that could be guided. Lyra struck then, using her staff not against the armor but at the beast's leg joint where the plates shifted. A crack formed, small but clear. The beast howled in anger, turning its glowing eyes toward her. Aron stepped forward quickly. Over here. Look at me. He clapped his hands and shouted, throwing another shard to make more noise. The beast turned its massive head toward Aron, its eyes burning. It charged, shaking the ground with each step. Aron's chest tightened, but he did not move back. He ran toward another shifting path, counting the rhythm of the glowing pulses on the ground. He timed his steps with the light, moving across just as the floor began to sink. The beast followed, too heavy and too slow. The path collapsed beneath it, dropping its front legs deep into a pit. "Now," Aron shouted. Lyra and two other heirs struck together at the weakened joint in its leg. Cracks spread wider. The beast roared in pain, pulling itself free, but it was slower now. The other heirs began to listen. They looked at Aron not with scorn but with growing respect. When he pointed, they moved. When he called out a warning, they dodged just in time. Piece by piece, the heirs worked together, guided by the human who had seemed so out of place. Still, the beast was powerful. Even with its slowed steps, it swung its massive tail and sent two heirs crashing against the walls. It released a roar that shook the chamber, and sparks of energy burst from its crystal body. Aron felt his legs tremble, but he forced himself to stay firm. He could not let fear rule him now. "Keep it moving," he called. "Do not fight it head on. Lead it. Trap it again." Step by step, they lured the beast across more unstable paths. It stumbled, fell, and rose again, slower each time. Finally, with one last cry, it collapsed fully onto the ground, its cracked legs unable to lift its massive body. The glowing in its eyes dimmed, and the chamber grew silent except for the heavy breaths of the heirs. The great voice of the chamber filled the air once more. "The beast is fallen. You have passed the second part of the trial. Only the final test remains." The heirs looked around, their faces pale but alive. Some were bruised, some limping, but none had fallen completely. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then slowly, eyes turned toward Aron. The iron-skinned heir, who had mocked him before, stepped forward. He studied Aron with a long, hard stare. Finally, he gave a slow nod. "Without you, many of us would have fallen. Your way was not cowardice. It was wisdom." Aron's chest felt tight. He had not expected such words. He only gave a small nod in return. Lyra stood beside him, her golden eyes glowing warmly. "You see what others do not. That is why I chose you." Aron looked down, uncertain what to say. He had never been chosen for anything great before. Back on Earth, he was just another face in the crowd. Yet here, in the heart of a galactic trial, an alien princess had trusted him, and he had not failed. But the trial was not over. The glowing crystal at the center of the chamber pulsed brighter. The ground shook again, but this time no beast appeared. Instead, a deep hum filled the air, and the crystal itself began to shift. Its surface melted into shapes, and a figure emerged from it. The figure looked strange, yet familiar. Its body was tall and glowing, but its face changed every few breaths, showing the features of many races, including humans. Its eyes shone like stars, filled with both kindness and challenge. "This is the final test," the voice said. "Not of body, not of mind, but of spirit. You must face yourselves." The heirs stood frozen. They had fought beasts and crossed shifting paths, but this was something different. Aron felt his heart beat faster. Facing himself. What did that mean? The glowing figure before the heirs shifted slowly, its surface shimmering with reflections of every face in the chamber. Humans, celery, scaled warriors, winged heirs all stared at themselves as the figure projected their likeness back at them. The air was heavy with tension. Aron felt a chill run down his spine. This was unlike anything he had faced before. Princess Lyra stepped closer to him, her golden eyes steady. "Do not be afraid," she whispered. "The spirit cannot be fought with weapons. You must see yourself clearly." Aron swallowed. He had never been good at looking inside. On Earth, life had been simple, filled with struggle and survival. Yet this figure reflected not just his face, but his fears, his doubts, and his strengths all at once. It showed a human struggling to survive against odds far greater than himself. The other heirs stepped back, muttering among themselves. Many were frozen, staring at their own reflections and trembling. Some cried out as if the sight of themselves was a threat. The winged heir shouted, "What is this madness? A battle of illusions." The glowing figure did not speak. It only waited, its light pulsing in rhythm with Aron's heartbeat. Aron closed his eyes for a moment, trying to remember what Lyra had said. He thought of the beasts, of the shifting paths, of the strategy that had allowed them to survive. He remembered how he had led Lyra and even the other heirs through danger, using what he saw and understood. Opening his eyes, he focused on his reflection. He did not see a weak human. He saw someone who could adapt, who could think under pressure, who could keep calm when others panicked. His mind sharpened as he realized that his spirit had always been tested, though in different ways than the heirs had known. The glowing figure pulsed brighter, recognizing the shift within him. Aron stepped forward slowly, feeling the heat of the chamber and the eyes of the heirs upon him. "I am not perfect," he said aloud. "I have doubts and fears, but I do not let them control me. I will face what comes, and I will act with courage." A murmur ran through the heirs. Many were still trapped in fear, unable to move. The iron-skinned heir, who had mocked him before, watched closely, his jaw tight. Aron's words were not commands, yet they carried strength that others felt without knowing why. The figure moved closer, reflecting the features of Lyra now. She looked at Aron with pride. "See what you are capable of," she said softly. "Do not let the fear of others define you." Aron nodded. He stepped past the figure, his eyes never leaving it. It pulsed with light, growing brighter as he advanced. The chamber seemed to respond to his calm focus. The floor no longer shook, and the air felt lighter. Suddenly, the figure split into many smaller projections, each one showing a moment from Aron's life on Earth. He saw himself as a child, learning to survive storms. He saw moments of failure, times when he had stumbled but kept moving forward. He saw people depending on him, and he saw how he had faced danger with no weapons, only courage and quick thinking. The other heirs stepped back further, some closing their eyes, unwilling to face their own reflections. One by one, they were paralyzed by doubt and fear. Only a few followed Aron's example, watching and learning. The winged heir gasped. I did not know." His voice trailed off as he looked at his reflection and saw himself hesitating, afraid to act, relying on his wings instead of his mind. The figure pulsed one final time. Aron felt a warm pressure on his chest, a sense of approval that did not come from anyone in the room, but from the chamber itself. It was as if the trial recognized the strength of his spirit, his calm in chaos, and his willingness to act without arrogance. The other heirs began to move forward, some slowly, some with hesitation, but none as confidently as Aron. Princess Lyra stepped beside him, her hand brushing his arm lightly. "You have shown them what courage looks like," she said. Aron looked at the glowing figure one last time. Its light began to fade, leaving behind a soft glow in the center of the chamber. The final challenge of spirit had passed, and with it, a new understanding settled over the heirs. Strength was not just in muscle, wings, or magic. Strength was in the heart, the mind, and the courage to act when others froze. The iron-skinned heir approached Aron, his face unreadable. "You have led us," he said finally. "Not with power, but with wisdom. I doubted you at first, human. Now I see I was wrong." Aron shook his head. "I only did what I could. You have all done well, too." Lyra smiled. "Not all will understand this, but some will learn. That is enough for now." The chamber's walls began to shift once more, opening a path toward the glowing crystal at the center. It rose taller, its pulse steady and warm. Aron stepped forward, Lyra beside him. The heirs followed, some with awe, some with lingering doubt. The final ceremony of the trial awaited. The chamber master would judge who had passed fully, not just with muscle or power, but with spirit and courage. Aron knew the moment would decide how the galaxy would see humans. He felt no fear, only determination. As he moved closer to the crystal, he glanced at Lyra. "Thank you," he whispered. She nodded slightly. "You did this yourself." "I only chose to see it." The crystal's glow wrapped around them. Aron felt a warmth in his chest, a sense of being recognized not for his species, but for his heart. The trial had tested strength, strategy, and spirit. He had survived all, not by brute force, but by thought, courage, and trust. The heirs gathered around the crystal, some exhausted, some proud, some humbled. The chamber master's voice filled the air once more. "You have faced the beasts, the shifting paths, and your own fear. Only those who stood with courage, wisdom, and spirit may step forward. Humans, celery, and all others, you have shown what it means to endure." Aron felt a swell of pride. The whispers that had followed him earlier now faded. Eyes once full of doubt now looked upon him with respect. Princess Lyra reached for his hand again, her golden eyes warm. "Sit beside me at the final ceremony," she said. "You have earned it." Aron nodded, his heart steady. He had walked into the trial as a human with no rank and no weapon. Now he walked toward honor beside a princess, a symbol that humans were not weak, and that courage came in many forms. The moment of fear had passed. The real challenge had been to see himself clearly, and he had done so. Now the galaxy would watch and remember. The heirs gathered in the central chamber, where the walls glowed softly with the light of the crystal at the trial's heart. The sound of distant engines and hums from the ship faded, leaving only the voices of those who had survived. Aron walked beside Princess Lyra, his steps steady, yet his mind raced. What would the council say? How would the elders react to a human standing among heirs of the galaxy's greatest clans? The doors at the far end opened, and the council entered. They were tall, imposing figures, each with unique features representing their world. One had skin that gleamed like polished stone, another had wings like golden sails, and another radiated a soft blue glow. All eyes turned toward the heirs and the human who had proven himself. "Report," the lead counselor said, his voice deep and echoing. "Tell us of the trial." Princess Lyra stepped forward, her golden eyes fixed on the council. "The trial has been completed," she said. "All challenges have been faced. Beasts have been defeated, the shifting paths crossed, and the final test of spirit has been endured." She paused, and her gaze swept over the heirs. But one figure stands apart. A human, named Aron, has shown courage, wisdom, and endurance beyond what most heirs have displayed. He has led others, seen what they could not, and acted with strength of mind and spirit. A murmur ran through the chamber. Some council members whispered among themselves. A few glared, clearly unconvinced. The iron-skinned heir, standing near the back, stepped forward. "With respect, counselors, I must admit I doubted him at first. I thought humans were weak and unprepared. Yet his guidance saved many. He faced the final trial without fear and showed leadership beyond his years." Another heir, winged and young, nodded. "I agree. Humans may be new to our stage, but his actions today proved that they can rise to challenges just like any of us." One counselor, a figure with crystal-like skin, raised a hand. "This is unusual. The traditions of the celery and allied clans are clear. Humans have no history in these trials. Why do we honor one above others?" Lyra met his gaze calmly. "History does not define potential. Strength, courage, and wisdom do. Aron has proven these in every part of the trial. To deny him recognition would be to ignore the truth before us." A murmur of dissent rose from several members. One, with wings folding slowly, said, "We have trained for centuries for these trials. A human, untested by our standards, should not be placed above our heirs." Aron remained silent, standing beside Lyra. He did not raise his voice, but he felt the weight of every gaze. He knew that no words could carry him here. His actions had spoken. The council would judge him by what they had seen. Lyra spoke again, her voice ringing clear in the chamber. Do you see the hesitation and pride that blinded some heirs in the trial? Aron did not hesitate. He acted with thought, courage, and focus. He did not rely on ancestry or status. That is what makes him worthy. The chamber fell quiet. Some counselors looked thoughtful. Others clenched their fists, clearly unwilling to admit a human could surpass expectations. The lead counselor, tall and with eyes like polished silver, stepped forward. We will debate. This is unprecedented. A human in the heart of the trial, beside the princess herself. Opinions differ, and we must consider the implications for tradition and alliance. The council gathered, forming a circle around the heirs. Each member spoke in turn, weighing what they had witnessed. Some focused on tradition, arguing that only heirs of established clans should receive honor. Others spoke of innovation, of courage, and of the need to recognize merit where it appeared. Aron listened, understanding their words but not feeling the need to defend himself. The proof was in the trial. The beasts had been overcome, the paths navigated, and the test of spirit passed. All that remained was for the council to recognize it. One counselor, older and with skin like flowing water, finally spoke. Humans have long been underestimated. Perhaps too long. Today, one has shown that judgment based on history alone is not enough. We have seen courage, wisdom, and leadership in action. We cannot ignore it. Another counselor, with wings glimmering in soft light, nodded slowly. It is true. Tradition has value, but not at the expense of recognizing true merit. The human has earned respect through deeds, not words. A heated debate followed, voices rising and falling, arguments and counterarguments echoing through the chamber. Some counselors resisted, reluctant to break precedent. Others pressed, citing the undeniable courage and intelligence shown by Aron. Finally, the lead counselor raised a hand, and the chamber fell silent. Enough. The trial has spoken through action. A human, standing beside a princess, has proven worth. He will be recognized. Tradition adapts when truth demands it. A ripple of murmurs spread among the heirs. Some looked surprised, others proud, and a few still skeptical. Aron felt a quiet warmth in his chest. He had not sought this. He had only acted with courage and thought. Yet the council had seen it, and now the galaxy could no longer ignore him. Princess Lyra stepped forward. Aron, she said, her golden eyes shining, you have proven that humans are more than what others believe. Sit with me at the final ceremony. You have earned it. Aron looked at her, feeling both pride and humility. He nodded, understanding that this moment would change how humans were seen across worlds. He had faced beasts, shifting paths, and even the truth of his own spirit. Now, he would face recognition not just as a human, but as a leader. The council members stepped back, allowing him and Lyra to move forward. Other heirs followed, some with respect, some with lingering doubt, but none could deny the human's courage and wisdom. The chamber glowed softly, the crystal pulsing as if celebrating the proof that strength comes in many forms. Aron took Lyra's hand lightly as they walked toward the final seats. Thank you, he whispered. She shook her head with a small smile. You do not need thanks. You only acted as you were. That is enough to show the world who humans can be. The chamber settled into quiet anticipation. The council would finalize its recognition, and the ceremony would begin. Aron stood at the center of attention, beside the princess, a human among heirs of the galaxy. He realized that courage, wisdom, and spirit mattered more than bloodlines or tradition. That was the lesson the trial had taught him, and now the galaxy would learn it too. As the crystal's light glowed brighter, Aron felt a sense of accomplishment unlike anything he had known. He had walked into the trial as a simple human, unsure of his place. Now he walked toward honor, beside one of the most respected figures in the galaxy, knowing that humanity had finally earned a seat at the table. The great hall glowed with golden light, streaming from the crystal at its center. The heirs, the council, and observers from distant worlds filled the chamber. Aron walked beside Princess Lyra, feeling both awe and a quiet pride. He had passed the trials, faced danger, and now he would take his place among the honored. The council members moved to their positions, their expressions serious but thoughtful. They had debated, argued, and finally agreed that the trial had shown the truth. Aron, a human with no rank or bloodline, had proven himself worthy. The other heirs looked at him with a mix of respect, curiosity, and disbelief. Some whispered among themselves, but their voices held less confidence than before. The stories of his courage, intelligence, and calm under pressure had spread through the chamber like a wave. Even those who had doubted him could not ignore what they had seen. Princess Lyra raised her hand, signaling for silence. Her golden eyes glowed warmly as she spoke, her voice carrying across the hall. Today, we have witnessed something remarkable. We have seen bravery, wisdom, and endurance displayed not only by heirs of great houses but by one who comes from a world unknown to many. This human, Aron, has proven that strength is measured not by lineage, but by spirit, courage, and thought. A hush fell over the crowd. All eyes turned to Aron. He felt the weight of the moment, but he also felt a strange calm. He had faced beasts, shifting paths, and his own fears. Now he stood before the galaxy, recognized not for his species but for who he had been in every trial. The lead counselor stepped forward, his silver-like eyes studying Aron. "Aron of Earth," he said, his deep voice echoing through the chamber, "your actions have surpassed expectations. You have led, guided, and endured. You have proven that humans are capable of great courage and wisdom. You are recognized as worthy to sit beside the princess in honor." A ripple of surprise ran through the chamber. Some heirs whispered, some nodded, and a few stared with open mouths. A human, one they had expected to be weak and inexperienced, had earned a seat among the honored. Aron's chest tightened. He had never imagined such a moment. He looked at Lyra, who smiled at him softly. "Come," she said, holding out her hand. "Sit here, where you belong." He followed her, walking to the center of the hall. The seats were high, carved from crystal and polished stone, glowing softly in the light. He had expected no recognition, only the chance to survive. Now, he would sit beside a princess, a position that symbolized respect across worlds. The heirs watched as Aron and Lyra took their seats. Some shifted uneasily, others bowed their heads in quiet respect. The room seemed to hum with approval, the crystal at the center glowing brighter as if celebrating the human's recognition. Princess Lyra leaned slightly toward Aron. "You have done well," she said. "Not for me, not for them, but for yourself. That is why you have earned this honor." Aron nodded. "I only did what I had to do," he said softly. "I did not think about recognition, only about surviving and helping others." Her golden eyes sparkled. "That is the mark of someone truly worthy." The council began the formal ceremony, giving recognition to those who had passed the trial. Many heirs received titles, honors, and praise, yet all eyes often returned to Aron. The story of how a human had faced beasts, navigated shifting paths, and confronted the final test of spirit spread silently through the chamber. Some heirs approached him afterward, offering nods of respect. One of the younger winged heirs, who had doubted him at first, spoke softly, "You were brave. I have never seen a human act with such thought and courage." Aron smiled faintly. "Thank you. You have your own strength, and you used it well." The iron-skinned heir stepped forward, a small bow of respect. "I admit I judged you wrongly. Today, Humans have earned their place in our eyes. Aron nodded, understanding that the moment was larger than himself. It was a moment for humanity, proof that humans could rise to challenges beyond their world and show courage and wisdom equal to any alien heir. The ceremony continued. Awards were given, words of praise spoken, and the hall hummed with approval. Yet for Aron, the most important part was quiet. He sat beside Lyra, feeling that his place among the honored was not just a title, but proof of what humans could achieve. The glowing crystal pulsed one last time, bathing the hall in warm light. It seemed to acknowledge not only the actions of the heirs but the spirit of the human beside the princess. Aron felt a sense of peace. He had faced trials, fears, and doubt, and had come out stronger. Princess Lyra looked at him with pride. Remember this, Aron. Strength is not only in muscle or skill. It is in courage, wisdom, and heart. That is what will carry you through life. Aron met her gaze. I will remember. I will not forget. The council concluded the ceremony, and the heirs slowly departed the chamber. Many offered nods of respect to Aron, some whispered words of praise, and a few, though quiet, carried a new understanding. Humans were not weak. Humans were capable of courage, wisdom, and leadership. Aron remained seated beside Lyra for a moment longer, feeling the glow of the crystal, the warmth of the light, and the recognition of a galaxy that had doubted him. He realized that this moment was not the end but the beginning. Humans had earned a seat at the table, and their story was only beginning. Outside the hall, the stars stretched endlessly across space. Ships from distant worlds glimmered, carrying travelers who had witnessed the trial and would carry stories of human courage across the galaxy. Aron looked at the stars and felt a quiet determination. Humanity had much to prove, but today, one human had shown the galaxy that humans could rise above fear, doubt, and expectation. Princess Lyra turned to him one last time. You have earned your place, she said. And the galaxy will remember it? Aron nodded, feeling a weight lifted and a new responsibility settle in his heart. He had come as a visitor, unsure of his place, and now he sat as a symbol. The seat beside the princess was more than honor, it was a promise. Humanity had arrived, and they would not be underestimated again. The chamber slowly emptied, the crystal's glow softening, but Aron remained seated for a moment, absorbing the significance of what had happened. He had faced fear, danger, and doubt, and had emerged stronger. He had shown that courage, wisdom, and spirit mattered more than power or lineage. The galaxy would watch, and humans would no longer be seen as weak. Aron smiled faintly, feeling hope and pride swell within him. His journey had only just begun, and the stars above promised new challenges, new opportunities, and new chances to prove that humanity was strong. The seat beside the alien princess was no longer a place of doubt or surprise. It was a seat of honor, a symbol of courage, and a testament to the human spirit. Aron had earned it, and the galaxy would never forget.